What's up, everybody? So as promised, this is our first video with foot and ankle week, going over the big toe. So when it comes to the big toe, guys, one of the biggest things we need to be able to do with our big toe is move it independently from the other toes. So what I mean by that is if you put the four toes down, can you lift the big toe by itself without this happening and the rest of the toes going crazy? So the reason we want independent function of the big toe is because the big toe is a major contributor to stabilization as well as propelling us through gait or our walking cycle. So when it comes to the big toe in terms of range of motion, we need to have roughly 25 to 30 degrees of range of motion in the big toe passively. So what I mean by that is if you should be able to just lift your big toe to where pretty much the bottom of the pad is going to raise over the second toe next to it. So if you lift it up yourself and it stops like right here, that's a sign that you do not have enough passive range of motion in your big toe. And without enough passive, you definitely don't have enough active. So active is the ability to move it yourself. So with this, looking at it from the side a little bit, when you move your big toe, we want to make sure that the arch of the foot doesn't like go crazy when you move the big toe. Some of us, when we move the big toe, the whole foot rotates over. Again, which is a sign of compensation and shows us that there's stuff that's not moving properly. So, to adjust the range of motion and develop the range of motion, we need to work on stretching the big toe. So one of the simplest ways you can do this is you can just hook a couple fingers underneath the big toe and you can just kind of pull it up and you can just hold it for about 2 minutes. From there, you'll resist the fingers and you'll try to press the big toe back down to the ground. And we're trying to do this without the veins and the rest of the foot popping up. So if you see the way I tense like that, see how these little tendons pop up? We don't want that to happen. We want the big toe to be resisting by itself the entire time so we can isolate that function. So you'll press down for about, 15 to 30 seconds until you begin to feel the muscle on the bottom side of the foot tense up and wake up. And then from there, you'll keep it in that stretch position and you're actually going to try to lift the big toe off your fingers. Now, it's not going to lift off, but again, we're trying to establish neurological control and we're trying to get the brain to communicate with this toe and get it to work. Once you've gotten pretty good at that, you can even work on in-range holds and in-range liftoffs. So we can put it in this position and then we can remove the fingers and we can see if the big toe stays. You can see how mine starts to drift off and then we'll pull it back up, try to flex the foot up in extension, and you will try to hold it there again as long as you can. Again, it tries to fall. So this is a little drill you can work on to help maintain and develop function of that big toe. So you guys can do this every night. Also, move your toes. You should be able to lift the big toe without the other four toes moving. Plant it down. You should be able to lift the other four toes without the big toe moving. And you should be able to splay and lower them down as close to one at a time as possible. And we want to work on articulation and control of the feet. If you're somebody who's grossed out by feet, I apologize, but this is important, guys. These are things that need to happen. So you can work on it from pressure standpoint coming from the ground, and then you can lift. With the lift, you can work on big toe down, big toe up. You can work on other four toes down, other four toes up, and you can go back and forth working on the function of your feet and establishing that mind-muscle connection and retraining the brain to communicate with your feet.